everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Oh! Checking on me, hermano. I sent him the wrong link to join the video, so I'm just gonna keep sending him. There he is. He made it. Oh, yeah, it's all my fault. Gave him the wrong link. There he is. Mike. One of our favorite episodes to do. Trade deadline week. Woo!
Yeah.
Now, we need to get something out of the way. We have a couple things to get out of the way. Number one, I'll see you guys on Friday. I'll be doing whatever's going on. I think I have it set for 2:00, only because the point that we're at right now with Noah Hanafin just being announced to going to Vegas, which what the man, Vegas is just when Mark Stone comes back, man. Him and his ruptured spleen, if that even happened. I at this point don't rush into anything, Steve. Like, just see what scraps you could pick up at the end of this. Like, don't worry, outs. You're not going to talk about your trade prospects outs. It's from I Think You Should Leave. That's a reference.
I had a feeling that's what it was from, but I couldn't put a finger on the sketch.
Essentially, I just the deeper this gets into everybody's trade board being depleted today, the further down the contenders list, I feel like the wingdings are falling, and the less likely we'll land somebody that's gonna put us back at the top.
I Think You Should Leave. I guess meme reference that came to mind is I don't even want to be around anymore, and it definitely feels like we're about to Carl Havoc our way through this deadline.
And I would say it's accurate. I'm gonna speak for Mike, but I'm pretty sure we feel the same way. It's not that we wish we had made all of these trades. It's just that some teams are getting too stacked right now, and it's not fair. It's just kind of starting to feel that way. That
it feels like we're running out of warm bodies to trade for, and the only ones left are the superstars that are going to cost first-round picks, and we know that Steve doesn't like giving those up. Is it Buchnevich?
Yeah, that's my boy right now. He's number one on my list
because he's supposed to be. Well, I guess the comparison I'm going to have for him pretty easy, but, he's a little beefier than Getzel, right? Who's the other guy rumored to maybe kind of sort of not really be available?
Yeah, and there's some weird things going on with Vancouver. And Jim Rutherford, who's got some, he's not technically the GM, but he's making the big play to bring, Gensel back over under his watch. I actually had a picture where it had maybe I just forgot to put it on the slides. I'm going through here, but
can I say one thing that I don't know if other people feel this sentiment or not, but
yeah,
it's not an isolated opinion. Dan B saying I can't wait for when Vegas gets knocked out by Dallas or Colorado. My only beef with that is I love when teams are aggressive. Like I'm envious of that. So like, our local teams, I don't mind when they kind of try and, gamble, for a ceiling, in the off season or at the trade deadline. So yeah, I don't know if they necessarily made the very best moves and, might be kind of hard to manage their team going forward, but I'm envious of teams that do that.
I think like the easy way to put it, right, is just look at Vegas and how deep of their playoff runs have gone, especially in the most recent of histories and Stanley Cup runs. I do like the aggressive moves. Just to be fair, went the opposite route for New York last year, going for Patrick Kane and Tarasenko. So just throwing that out there too, to be completely fair. It doesn't always go your way. And there's also the Ottawa Senators right now that just traded away Tarasenko. So Not that, yeah, they picked him up as a free agent. I was going to go through the list here, so we'll include Noah Hanafin, but Elias Lindholm, who I wanted to call out. Ketzel threw it out there. Lindholm getting moved to Boston, I believe, making space for Vancouver to bring Gensel over. Just is crazy. But off. This is Frank Saravelli's trade board. His number one was Lindholm. Sean Monahan, Chris Tanev, Sean Walker, Adam Henrique, Kuzmenko, Anthony Mantha, Alex Svenberg, Vladimir Tarasenko, who by the Senators, by all Senators fans' accounts, was going for a first-round pick. Did not quite make it there. Labushkin going to Toronto, and Sam Carrick. Not leaving nobody, leaving some folks I'd like to talk about today. And I actually even made the list longer today. So I'll put it that way. Maybe I'm getting a little too like, let's get off the trade block sort of conversation, but we'll take a look at it. And there's some business we got to get out of the way, Mike, because I don't know if you're still paying attention. Mike, we had another photo finish in the fantasy league this week.
Wild. Somehow Matt won by decimal places again. I don't know how that happened. So weird.
I gave up. I put my roster in. I'm not saying I didn't try. I tried, but I stopped watching it. I was like, nope, Mike's got this. I'm done. And then I opened it up to start setting my roster on Monday
and got that edit settings. And once again, I somehow lost by less than a point. Weird. I don't know how that keeps happening.
Just gotta tweak get those defenseman block shot points. Just have it go 0.1, and
that was the reason.
Shoot right up the standings.
Yeah, that was the reason. Yeah, thanks, man.
So that's two matches in a row, Mike. I beat you by less than a point. Championship last year, leading in here. Hey, you know what? We have 100 folks watching us right now. If you guys are watching on Twitter, please smash the like button for us. I think we're going to have some fun. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. Join us for some fun talk, because we're going to talk trades, because what we were going to talk about, Mike, we're going to land on this one, this hot garbage, but it's just, there's so much going on trade deadline wise. Do we even need to waste our time? Do we need to waste our time talking about it?
I feel like Chris Ilitch has never watched Bull Durham. All right. You don't fuck with the winning streak, and especially one that's putting a wart on the most timeless classic sports uniform of all time for a trash company that is not even on your Zamboni. How much fucking money did that guy need that he made a deal with Priority? God. You know what? I don't think the Red Wings, it's not like they suddenly forgot how to play against, Florida. I think they're silently protesting because they want their Priority trash off of their jerseys. So I think they're just going to try and top the Pistons' 28-game losing streak and just keep losing until this contract is up.
Oh, God. It didn't look great once the Priority label got smacked down there, and we'll go through this quick, because I don't think we want to lean on some bad games too long, because things for this team are about to change.
Hey, you know what though? If you're a little, can you go back a slide?
Yeah.
For the Islanders game, you might be a little bummed out about that, but all the guys that are kind of on the Red Wing trading block for when we inevitably sell again. Had pretty good games against the Islanders. Look at Mantha, Gostisbehere, Perron. Yeah. Let's bump that value up, baby. Go from a 6th rounder to a 5th rounder. Yeah.
Any coincidence, you think, that Jeff Petrie was the one that showed off the Priority label sponsorship on our jerseys in the video? On the announcement video?
Hall was, a healthy ad
was left
just
off
for the trash jerseys. Yeah, a little unusual for him.
All right, let's get into some trade talk here. This was the Athletics top 10 a week ago. We already went over who's off this board, but still remaining in the top 10. Gensel, Markstrom, Hanafin just went. And then Hanafin was one that I was putting some slides together. I was like, I'm still interested, even though it's a left side D. I still want to check out what's going on with Noah. Didn't happen. Vetrano, Matt Dumbo, right side D, could still be part of a conversation. Tyler Toffoli, and then rounding out the top 10. Guys, this is the only name. I think we could just get into it now. If you guys want to comment either on Twitter, you want to comment in the chat and here on YouTube, let me know who you guys are targeting first. I think this makes it so much more fun and interesting. The St. Louis Blues, Mike, are willing. Apparently I'm sick because all of a sudden I have so much snot in the back of my throat, and I don't know if you guys can hear it. Pavel Buchnevich, they are willing to retain some of that salary, Mike, for a guy who's a point per game player. I'll say going back, if we want to say like the last 4 seasons, like hovering around that, including this season. And I thought, why not close all the windows that head up everybody's salary caps and whatnot? I closed that one out just about 2 minutes before we went live. So let's pull up Pavel and wait for goddamn, who would have thunk Cap Friendly would be moving slow as a glacier right now. All right, so he's at 5'8", right?
Pavel?
Yeah. So
yeah,
you cut
what, 6'1", 196.
5.8 million. Sorry.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, we have that potential to knock that in half. We know I don't like to do math. 2.9 mil, Mike, for potentially getting Perron out of your top 6. Holy hell. And putting a point per game player in your top 6 for potentially 2.9 million, depending on how much St. Louis is willing to hold on to.
Is that the reason that we think that this is a real legitimate like Red Wing target? Both because some salary will be retained and Yzerman manages this team like it's the 2002 Oakland A's. And then also he happens to play for the Blues, which is, the only team we like to trade with.
I think, so Frank Saravelli's take.
Yeah.
Steve Yzerman continues to build. Buchnevich fits Detroit's salary cap picture now and moving forward. And that was before St. Louis announced that they would retain. And he could take a playoff team to turn them into an upset threat. And he might be a great fit to play as a finisher for Patrick Kane, the way he could find soft ice. So I like that take. I think, more importantly, Kane has his partner. I think Lucas Raymond needs his partner. So that's where I'd be looking right now, is to fill that out. And that's where the conversation gets rough, is because I would love to have him on my team. I'm not sure if I'm ready to have the conversation about some first round picks and a J Burger, which is what was proposed on our Discord, guys. Why don't I throw in that link to the Discord, Mike? But what's while I pull up the link to the Discord, what's your take on that?
It seems a little steep. For a guy of everything I've read, he only likes to play one side of the ice. He doesn't like getting very physical. I do appreciate the points. This Red Wing team does have guys who can score a little bit. I do wish the guy was a little more physical, especially because it kind of feels like it's maybe Rasmussen, maybe, as far as a forward goes. I guess you could put Fisher up there. I don't hate the move, right, if they did do it. But I think a first and a burger and a prospect and a roster guy might be a little steep. And I'm just basing that off of, there's a few trade parallels that I think was The Athletic had been publishing. Was it the previous year's Toffoli trade I think they had up there?
This was Frank Saravelli's take on this one. It was to Montreal, a first-round pick, a fourth-round pick, a fifth-round pick, and Emil Heineman. Oh, and Tyler Pitlick. Holy mackerel. Don't forget, too, this is a 2-year contract. You've got Pavel locked in for 2 years at 2.9. So you're not trading just for a winger to fill out Lucas Raymond's line for the rest of this season. You've got them all next year too. This is, to me, that's the difference maker between this and Gensel.
Because he's UFA, right? He's not an RFA.
Yeah, he's turning 29 very soon. So he's deep into his UFA years, and by the time this contract's up, I mean, you could be making the argument he's past his prime. So you're going to squeeze that last little bit of juice, and he starts the decline. Terrible? No, but the decline for sure. But yeah, I to me, that's where that conversation for me is. The guy I did not go into this trade deadline saying we had to come out with anybody. I still don't feel that way. But I do feel like if I have to rank this, you're getting a guy who you've got a couple years with. St. Louis is willing to retain. That means you got to pay to get him. But I think sometimes it's got to hurt to get something that's really going to work out. And Buchnevich, to me, feels like the type of thing that's going to fit an exact spot we've been talking about all season that doesn't make sense at the top 6, is being able to fill out that spot. Somebody could right now put in the chat, like, Berggren could fill out that spot. What are you talking about? We don't need to play this game with Buchnevich. Let's see if Berggren can make it work. I'm all about that conversation. But specifically, this is so gross right now. I need a swig of water with the boogers. Talking specifically about all the trade targets that are out there. Like, if the conversation is like, well, trade's going to happen, which one do you want to have happen? We should probably be saying, well, I want some right side defensemen, but it's almost silly to pretend like we don't have a hole for Lucas Raymond and someone for him to play with. If we're going to, which we haven't even mentioned yet, that Larkin's out for 2 weeks, but when Larkin comes back, we know we're doing DeBrincat, Larkin, Kane. What's that second line going to be? And I'd feel more comfortable if we actually want to go into the playoffs and not just celebrate making it to the playoffs, but try and win, having a guy with like Buchnevich on your second line than almost anybody else on this team that's left.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a lot of things going for him. And was it Dan B who said we've had decent luck, making some trades with St. Louis in the past. So yeah, getting a guy with an extra year on his deal, some salary being retained. I think between the two players and Robert Cole also thrown in Gensel, no thank you. Dan B also thrown in no rentals. Silver, woo, man, Gensel saying the stats were padded by Kraz. Yeah, but wouldn't his stats be padded by Lucas Raymond? Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, he could keep up with superstar talent. There's the argument.
Sure. But no, I think Steve would want an asset. So that means, maybe Buch doesn't, what if we did acquire him and maybe didn't quite fit? You still have a year's contract. You could, move him or package him or, which it's going to be a lot harder, I think, with Jake the Snake. As much as I do like him. And he has carried me in some fantasy hockey in seasons past. Yeah, it doesn't sound like the Wings are necessarily in on Gensel. I don't know. I kind of want a little bit more of this information to come in, but do you feel, Matt, like looking at how some of these trades have come through, do you wish, based on the ask, like for example, we'll take my boy Tarasenko, who I kind of wanted in the offseason, basically a third and a fourth, unless the Panthers make it to the finals, for that guy to be in your top 6? Like, do you wish that you'd put in an offer if you knew the bid was that low?
I don't know. We had who just mentioned it. As long, no rentals is my only requirement. I totally agree with Dan. I think you can make a trade right now where we're not we're not losing some assets on something that, right now we have 2 weeks of no Dylan Larkin. who knows if this asset turns into the thing that helps us in the first round of the playoffs right now. So yeah, I'm absolutely trying to find something that's going to help us a little bit deeper into the future. And I feel like you do get that with a 2-year contract that gives you so much flexibility too. It gives you flexibility to lose, some of the names that are going to come off your roster this year because their contracts are expiring. So you could still have a pretty solid top 6. I think right now we're making the argument like, okay, well, obviously we're giving Lucas another contract. You want to talk to Kane, and if you want to have more room for Kane, and you have your top 6 filled out with a $2.9 million left winger who could keep up at a point per game pace, I think that's huge for next year, and huge to get another crack at going up a little bit higher in this division. Seeing what this team looks like when you upgrade it with Edvinsson all next season, and yeah, just like taking this roster, letting it gel a little bit, giving it a whole nother off season to get some practices in, do some cute little team building, and then upgrade with a couple of your prospects that are getting a shot next year, and that we're sure are an upgrade over Ben Sherratt. So you get those upgrades that are in your system. You get to try out this roster that, I mean, one of the best looking power plays we've seen in a long time. As Detroit Red Wings fans, great power play this season. There's talent there to keep scoring. So I say that's where this one works for me. I think if you make a play for Gensel, you're going to overspend on a guy who made the comment about his stats being inflated, and he'll probably leave.
I also I had mentioned earlier about trading with teams that you're familiar with. I also feel like trading with the Penguins, there'd be a Red Wing tax involved where they would up the draft pick or they'd up the prospect requirement to make that move. But just a few comments I wanted to throw in here too. Ketzel saying if Toffoli is actually on the board, I'd like that. I don't know if that's actually come to fruition, but that would be a pretty sexy move. There's a couple others I wanted in here. Robert Cole saying Vetrano would work. He's going to be 29. Thank you, Jared, for another week.
Yeah, and Jared thrown out there too, like a guy who's on pace for 35 plus goals on a crap team like Anaheim. That's impressive on its own. So great call by Jared to at least keep an eyeball on that. And who are you trading with? Your old buddy Pat Verbeek. Hey-o. So why not?
Spy. Yeah, you're supposed to be hooking us
your
up,
spy
bro.
out there.
Come on.
Yeah, Vetrano, Zegras for Berggren.
Woo,
2 for 1.
Give me that. Ketzel thrown out there. 30-year-old is the oldest I want to trade for. Ooh, Ketzel, little Leonardo DiCaprio. I like it. Nice.
He's got his cutoff
young. Who else do we have in here? Oh, Silver, I haven't seen you in a minute. How you doing, bud? He wants Nick Schmaltz. Give him the Schmaltz. Matt, are you in on Schmaltz or no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I guess
by the Schmaltz or multiple additional seasons with Hall. I do see a push for him to get traded in the comments, but you got to find a willing partner. I don't think people would sign him for a minimum right now as a free agent. It's been pretty rough.
Who's I'm not seeing any of these. Here's Jim. Hall has to go. I mentioned in the Discord that I think it was Butt Chug that said that Elliot Friedman was joking, but Elliot Friedman threw out there. Lyubushkin came back to Toronto, so Hall was next. So I thought that sounded like legit, like, hey, yeah, Toronto's looking at bringing Hall in. Butchug said that was all baloney from Friedman. So I'd cross my fingers on that, though. I just don't know how you make that work with Toronto. Like, what are you doing? You handing over Hall, taking a late round pick? Wouldn't mind getting him off the team, and I know he's out there. I think it was Emily Kaplan that threw that out there. Not I don't know if it was specifically Hall, but just that the Wings were trying to make space on on the defensive side, which I would have to assume, like Jim throws out there again, bring up Edmundson. I would have to assume that's the play, making room for that. Even Lalone said within the last week, when asked about the trade deadline, we have guys in the minors that could upgrade our team right now, which, by the way, if you're on the team right now and you hear that, what a wonderful thing to hear from your coach. But is that setting up the fan base for we're making room on this roster so that we can bring the unstoppable Berggren take him off this AHL Grand Rapids Griffins roster and put him on a legit real NHL roster.
They really treat him like who was that Tiger a couple years ago? Was it Jamer Candelario? And they would call him not a AAA player, not a major league player, but like a quad A player.
Yeah.
I don't know what this guy has to do to keep a job at the NHL level, but it has not impressed Steve Yzerman. And Red Wings fan club was saying, I'd imagine Berggren is going to keep turning Steve down in the offseason unless he gets a one-way contract. And I would fight for that too. I think that's a good point there.
Yeah, he's Ketzel throws out there. He should. He's earned an NHL gig. Little info on Frank Vetrano. So again, this is 1 year remaining, $3.65 million. Pat Pervik was at MSG last Wednesday night, sparking rumors of a Rangers reunion with Vetrano. The truth is, the Ducks really aren't looking to move Vetrano, their all-star this year, who's had a tremendous season approaching 30 goals for the first time in his career. Flip side of that scenario is also true. At that production and salary cap hit, Vetrano is probably worth a lot more to a contending team than those stinky Ducks, who don't have any cap limitations or even real expectations. The only exception to that is now that Anaheim has used all 3 of its salary retention slots after the Henrik Carrick move. Ooh, that is new. That's from Frank Saravelli, ladies and gents. That's interesting. But I mean, at a $3.65 million cap hit, I'm not necessarily concerned with retention there. I wasn't even really concerned with retention on Pavel Buchnevich, but I mean, here we are. We're talking about it. I really like this call out by Jared. I think as I went through the list and I was taking a look at everybody that was left, I think it made it easier for me to like Vetrano, where when the list was a little bit longer, I feel like he got lost in the sauce. But yes, another guy with a year left on the contract. I'm not concerned about retention at all, which again isn't even a possibility, but I just want to throw out there. No worries. But yeah, somebody I would definitely keep an eye on, and somebody I would consider right now losing the trade on, if I may. It's filling almost the exact same conversation that I was talking about, just a little bit cheaper. I don't know Vetrano's stats for the last little chunk here, so I'm going to pull it up right now and we can just kind of chat it out here while I run through it. So it's just this difference of like getting around 4 years for Buchnevich of point per game production. And for Vetrano, you're talking about 48 points this year, but getting, he's a goal scorer, almost hitting 30 goals, on pace for 35. The year before, 81 games, on nearly a whole season, 41 points, 22 goals. Not great. Season before that, 71 games, 32 points, 18 goals. So the consistency isn't really there. So you're kind of playing this game of like, well, there wasn't really. And Jared, I totally agree with you. I think this is something to keep an eye on. But just to play devil's advocate for a sec, when you kind of look at this, are you just looking at a guy where it's like, well, there was nothing else? Like Anaheim was going to put goals in the back of the net. Somebody was going to do it. And it just happened to be Vetrano. Does it continue if he moves over? But it is hard to argue with 35.
It does feel like it would be difficult for him to get as many opportunities.
But again, 3.65 million.
Yeah, I mean, if it's only like a second rounder, and maybe like one dude to kind of make the numbers even out in the books. Yeah, okay. It's just this guy like screams. I thought how many years does he have left? This is it, right?
This is 2. You get him 2 years on this deal. You get him this, or I'm sorry, the rest of this year, next year. You get another cheap contract, not a tremendous risk But it's not.
Oh, yeah. So you get this half of the season, the next season. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Probably likelier than Jake the Snake. He's definitely a lot less sexy, and I would be shocked if the Red Wings wanted to re-sign him after that. So I don't know if you want to keep him, then extend him, and then have another guy blocking the burger, unless the burger is part of the trade. So I don't know if this guy is like draft pick plus burger worthy.
Right.
Where Pavel, I feel, is a little bit closer to actually being like a point of night guy.
Yeah, and I like Ketzel's point too, to have somebody watch out for the Butch name before Butch arrives.
Oh, Dan B's got one for you, man. He's been saving this receipt for a while. Why speculate on Vetrano's worth? What do the fancy stats say he is? Huh? Yeah.
Oh my God, Dan. All right.
Where's that Jay Fresh card, man? Pull it up. This is just for Dan.
So many people been complaining. I stopped getting all these things all set up,
but especially with Buchnevich, because it looks like he would actually contribute to our 5-on-5 play, which is one of our struggles as a team. So I wouldn't mind having a guy who can score at even strength. So
Sarah Valley called it out too. I mean, you're getting both sides of special teams play from a Buch. So, but yeah, let's cue this up right now. Make sure all my tabs are closed and share. All right, guys, we got a clear winner here.
It's not on our screen.
It didn't show up. All right, it didn't. There it is.
Hey, oh no.
Okay.
Ooh, not good.
Well, just remember, this is Anaheim we're talking about. Not that, St. Louis is
he
fighting
playing
for
in front
first
of
in
Reimer
league.
on these slides, or?
I mean, this is the expected goals against per 60 and Corsi against per 60. It doesn't
playing
matter
in
who his
front of
goaltender is.
Woo-hoo!
Doesn't matter who his goaltender is.
Okay.
Look, yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference between being Vancouver being one of these teams at the top of the league, and being a Florida Panthers and being an Anaheim Ducks. So sometimes it's hard. It's hard to get these numbers to look appealing. However, I still think, to Dan B's point, we need to look at some of the fancy stats, and I think there's an argument to be made that there's a clear winner between these two. But you know what?
No,
you know what, Dan? You know what, Dan B? Can we stick with the eyeball test? Come on, Dan. Come on. Clearly,
him,
when he
Get him,
gives
Dan.
up,
Get him, Dan. Get some more receipts. Get him. Yeah, Jared has said, Matt, don't accidentally show your OnlyFans. You guys are the OnlyFans. What are you talking about, Jared?
Yeah, guys, check out the OnlyFans in the chat.
We need Pam Beasley up here to be like, it's the same podcast.
So do people not know? Like, I mean, Pornhub's still free. Like, what are we doing with OnlyFans? Have we figured that out yet?
Orders, Matt. Custom orders.
Oh, okay. Tell me more. What do you know about OnlyFans that I don't?
So I've heard.
Am I old-fashioned? Is that like a sign? Is that like a generational thing? It's like, you've got to, your friends put out content. You've got to support them. So it's like, all right, I guess $5 a month. Here we go.
I mean, what do you mean you can't view it in some states unless you subscribe? Oh, state law. Wow.
Oh yeah,
there's some kind of helps
you can't use Pornhub,
support your local artist. But before we get too far into the
no, let's just keep talking porn.
Wild. Man, we're at 34 minutes. I don't know if you got to put some business out there real quick.
Oh yeah, guys, please don't leave. This is a wonderful. This is
60 seconds.
Wonderful group we have here. So happy everybody's joined us. We're gonna get some biz out of the way. We'll be right back. The action never ends at DraftKings Sportsbook, especially coming up this spring. With tons of ways to bet on all your favorite sports, you can fuel your fandom and feel the heat of the season like never before. Plus, right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, we're giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's right, make your first bet up to $1,000, and if it doesn't win, you'll get another shot at cash later. You can throw down on all the major action for baseball, golf, MMA, and more. Plus, with same-game parlays, spreads, money lines, over-unders, and props, your betting options feel endless. Red Wings have some pretty tough games coming up. Who knows? Maybe that just means the odds will be that much tighter. And if you put some money down on your favorite Red Wings team to win, which I'm sure you'd all agree, maybe things could go your way. Best of all, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw with your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And we're back. Thanks for not leaving, everyone. I appreciate it. This has been one of our best. Oh,
let's. I gotta throw this one in because I haven't heard from Brand New in a while. Feels like the Wings won't get any trade deadline pieces to help. Oh no. Brand, that's how I felt this afternoon when I saw the moves start coming in, and I was like, oh god, we're gonna lose to Colorado, and Steve's gonna do that. I don't know, not a sell-off, but just kind of they weren't going to retain him anyway. And now you get Berggren, so you're welcome. No, we're hungry. We're envious. We're greedy. We want more. I want more good players. And also, Matt, how do you know the price?
That was a guess. I mean,
all right, we'll just move on before Matt self-incriminates here.
Hey, happy birthday, Chewy! He's turning 43.
Hey, happy birthday!
Sorry you missed it, Chew. All I know, this is Dan B, is tonight's game is on TNT, so I'm watching on a 9-inch tablet instead of 75-inch TV. So
throw in the comments too. If we got all these viewers, who do you guys actually want to target? Because Matt and I are kind of making the case for Buchnevich based on the extra year that he would be under contract. I don't think you'd have as much indigestion because he's not a rental. He would slot right into being a top 6 forward. He scores when it's 5-on-5, so we don't have to lean on him. Please, just do something on special teams because we know this team has had some struggles with 5-on-5 hockey. I'm trying not to make him, the greatest player of all time, but he does hit a lot of checkmark boxes that we're looking for. And especially he'd be able to kind of step in for 2 weeks while our God, Mr. Waterford himself, is on the mend. Jim Johnson saying Booch and Gudas.
There's something about Gudas that I'm fine. Like I don't want it on my team.
Jim Johnson saying, in other words, Booch and the Beast. Yeah. Jim, we're going to get a clip of you on TikTok singing that for us. This is pot style.
Booch
and the Beast.
I guess I won't be shocked if it happens. I just it's not my favorite thing to think
Jared's
about.
Got a receipt for you. Matt, he is at a +15, your favorite stat. We know you love plus minus.
We are huge plus minus fans here.
We are big on goal differential. Back me up, Ketzel.
Next on my list, got a year, another contract.
Oh man,
you're not just
Matt
done.
Going back to the Ottawa well. I love it, Matt.
Jacob Chick.
Yeah.
Saravelli thrown out there. Chychrun is maybe the biggest wild card of the deadline. Go back to Jim's point. Stevie is unpredictable. Jim Johnson's point. The Sens are examining their core to see who will be there for a long haul. Multiple teams have inquired about Chychrun, acquired from Arizona a year ago, and they haven't been told that Chychrun is unavailable. He's not available.
My God.
It still feels like a summer deal. But the truth is the Sens have a logjam on the left side of their defense. Although Chychrun can play the right side, Shabbat and Sanderson are also both left shooting defensemen. That's $20.65 million. The left shooting defenseman. Hey, Buffalo is now going to be competing for that after picking up another left side defenseman today. That's $20.65 million, a left shooting defenseman, nearly a quarter of the total cap. And the question about an extension for Chychrun will come up this summer. Ottawa has some important things to take care of here. All right. I'm gonna say this isn't something I would fight for. This isn't something where if I heard somebody was close on the deal, I would up the ante and throw in more guys to make sure I landed Chychrun. But if it's late on Friday and Ottawa's actually looking to move Chychrun, I would take advantage of this. This is something I'm all about. I would scroll back up to the comment of I'm afraid we're not going to do anything. This trade deadline, yeah, it was brand new. Feels like the Wings won't get any trade deadline pieces. That might not be the worst outcome here. But again, come late Friday, Ottawa is trying to move them, and
you guys
nobody's
want to feel
calling.
better about not making a move, because that would make me very sad, and I think a lot of our listeners would also be very disappointed. You want to feel better about a move being possible? Look at that Ottawa cap sheet. Woo! They have a projected $15,000 in cap space right now, Matt. Roughly the value of my Chevy Cruze times 15. So not very much. And then if you look at like what they got, okay, what's going on in this offseason? All right, they're going to lose Kubalik, which I can't imagine they were going to re-sign him anyway. And the other guys coming off the books are like 775, 775, 775, 775. And then Bronstrom, RFA. So, I mean, their cap sheet's pretty full and they stink. So they got to start making some moves here to, make it possible to kind of reshuffle the deck a little bit. And I mean, are you going to pay Sanderson and Shabbat and Chychrun like $6 million plus each? Especially since the other two guys are both making 8 and 8. I don't think a move is that far fetched.
Yeah, and you're also talking about draft picks versus a guy you traded for that you thought was going to help you make it to the playoffs last year, and it didn't work out. So there's also concerns about Chychrun, like getting fed up with these organizations that suck at. Think about what Chychrun has done. He went from a team that couldn't even keep it together inside of a real NHL arena and had to go to Mellon Arena. And then he gets moved to this dumpster fire of the Ottawa Senators. The second this guy moves to a legit franchise, my man is going to pop. Okay? That's something that we are still yet to see from the Chick Man. And I'm interested to see what it looks like. I'm interested to see a Chychrun who's playing for something that actually matters, is on a franchise that isn't crumbling and bumbling itself through a season, isn't losing coaches left and right, doesn't have rumors around other guys wanting out. Would legit be attached to a team that when they talk about themselves, like we got to hear Joe Veleno talking today, like we're here because we earned it. We're here, we're in this fight because this is our fight that we've put together. Like, and they see themselves as like this band of brothers. He hasn't experienced that one time in his career. He would get to experience it now for at least 2 seasons. I again still imagine you can't take away this power play next year. It's still going to be hot. So
and
there's going to be something to fight for.
Unofficial producer of the show, God bless you, Jared, noticing that Josh Norris, if he comes off injured reserve, they're like 7.9 over the cap. So this team, they have to make a move. There's going to be something Ottawa cap related by Friday. It's got to happen.
Also, Jared thrown out there. Bobby Ryan's still getting paid by Ottawa.
Oh, no. Good for Bobby. Yeah, good for you, bud.
Yeah, all around, just great decision making by that franchise.
Jim Johnson, I can't remember, bud, if we talked about this one or not, but what would it take to bring in Vetrano? I don't think it would be of the dudes that we've talked about, like the Chychrun's, Buchnevich. I feel like his ask wouldn't be super duper high. I don't even know if we're having to give up a first rounder in that one. I'm thinking second and like a non-super prospect.
I would love for it to be around the Anthony Mantha trade, but I am
second and fourth.
Yeah. I am getting kind of concerned that the price for both Buchnevich and Vetrano is going to hurt. I do like Red Wings fan club throws out there Burger second and a third. I don't mind a couple of picks. It is getting pretty heavy with 3 guys, but I don't think I'm going to be thrilled
I
with
don't think
this if I
he's
saw it, but
yeah.
I think I'd be kind of okay with this on Vetrano or Booch. So I just do think I do I do think we're at this point where it's like a first is going to have to go. But again, if you're going, this was an interesting point I heard today from is it Ryan on Puck Soup? God, whatever. Works for elite prospects, so legit has the sources surrounding him. But he was bringing up the point, Lambert. That's Lambert on Puck Soup. That the draft isn't that super deep this year in the first round. So if you're not in the top 15, you're not getting shit. We imagine ourselves to be out of that top 15 this year. So maybe it's okay we give up our first. Maybe this is okay. It happens this year because we're not trying to get a top 10 pick right now. And again, we're talking about guys we're going to trade that are going to help out this team for a couple of years. So I don't know. I maybe it's time to think about it. Like if we could get into that piece of the conversation, are those first round picks that valuable still? Then we're just talking about every pick has value, right?
Let's can I hit a few comments in here too? There's some slight concerns about Chychrun's injury history. And Dan, I don't think you're wrong, right, to see that he's not a guy who's been playing, 82 games. However, I also think that he could be one of those guys who he's got like bad teamitis. Because he was in the playoffs one time so far. I think it was like 2021? 2021? Yeah. Or 2020. It's 1920 season. He was 21. So, guys magically get healthier when they're on good teams and they're playing for something. The other thing to kind of keep in mind with that too is sometimes when you're hurt, you could come back, but it's like, what's the point if there's only a couple games left? So, yeah, I don't think it's something to ignore, but I think if he's on a good team, you'd probably see more games played. And Ketzel, I gotta say, buddy, this has to be so far my favorite comment of the episode because lest we forget, Otto has a new GM for Yzerman to fleece. So the trade possibilities could still be out there, right?
Oh, where's that one?
About 7:46 p.m.
Okay. Well, that's gone forever. Oh, Ketzel. There we go. Yep.
Boom. GLJ, look it. I stole your thunder. He's saying the same thing. Why play through an injury if you're not going to make the playoffs anyway? Yeah, basically. What are you going to kill yourself for?
Yeah, exactly. Dan B coming up with a similar question.
Unfortunately, probably would include at least a first.
Yeah. I think you're giving Ottawa your second first round pick. Like they collect one for DeBrincat. Now they're going to collect one for Chychrun, which is just kind of funny. Like we're going to sit here and take a huge dump on Ottawa, but then turn around and say, can we have a couple of your guys from the last couple of years? That'd be nice. Or from the last year. But I do think it's interesting. I do think it's something I would call about, but I do think Ottawa's going to want to get paid for this. And this isn't like the first name I brought up on my list, only because I don't think I'd push too hard for this. But I think you're right. A first round pick is going to have to get mixed in. I think they'd love to turn around and look at us and say like, hey, Bergeron worked out. What a great forward we have. And like you just talked about, how many different left side defensemen do they have? They need to start trying some things out on the forward side and start building out some depth there. So I think that would be a perfect fit for them.
I would say, too, with this trade, and GLJ brings up a good question, are you going to sign Chychrun to an extension where he's paid as a 1D on the second pair?
Well, if he earns it, yeah, for sure. You got a whole season to figure that out.
If we're throwing in picks, this might also be a spot where I was hoping we could move off one of our D-men that's a little bit cheaper than Chychrun, but, man, that cap sheet for them is so rough. Yeah, it would have to be draft compensation because they just don't have room for anything right now. They're going to have to be doing some pretty creative moves in the offseason. But I think we had one or two other players that we wanted to spotlight today. Oh, and Red Wings fan, we'll see you. Have a good night.
See you, buddy.
Oh,
Scott.
no! And there's news that Vegas is in on Toffoli. Oh, no! They're just going all in.
Oh, man. every year, they're all in. I mean, man, put somebody else on LTI. That's the thing too. Like, what could prevent any like nothing prevents these other teams from trying this out. And who knows? Like, they just give Mark Stone like a bunch of drugs, and they just start kicking him in the side, and they're like, he's got a spleen problem. Get him to the hospital. He's out for 2 months. He'll be back right in time for the playoffs. I promise. Do that to one of the wings. Put Petrie on the ground and start kicking him. Of course, that's only $2 million. Man, that'd be crazy. Gosh darn it. I like Dan B. Cheap D man, you say? Edvinson? Yeah, but how crazy would this left side of the D look after the trade deadline if it was going to be Jake Wallman paired with Seider, and then you go down the line and you have Chychrun and then Edvinson? I like that. I know everybody's a huge fan of Ben Sherratt this year. I'm still not sold, but I think that's a major upgrade if you look up and down that left side. Mike, you brought up Scott Laughton this year. This is from Sierra Valley. Market seems to have cooled significantly on Laughton with his high asking price. 3 years ago, as the final minutes ticked down on the trade deadline, it was a touch and go. So whether Laughton's career with the Flyers would continue or receive significant interest on the market as a pending UFA. Flyers ultimately re-signed him to a 5-year, $15 million extension. Has 2 years left. Flyers have realized that the center market has gotten thin in a hurry. I feel like I've read enough. I don't need to touch this with a 15-foot pole. Was there, and especially on the side of center, like we have too many centers right now. I feel like we're overloaded. So I don't want this. How do you feel?
If like that first round pick, like, just hang up the phone. Like that ask makes you miss like the flip phone when you could like snap it closed, or like the old rotary phone, you could slam it down because you can't angrily, shut down an iPhone.
Right.
But he's more productive than like a Christian Fisher, because he would, kind of jump in as, a fourth line guy. I just like for me, he's kind of medicine. He's a spoonful of medicine where we do need a guy with a little tiny bit of scoring touch with some beef. But
not
I
this.
don't know. Like
this
acquisition, he's medicine, but I don't think that he necessarily like gets this team into the playoffs for the first time in how many years.
Right. The next one on my list, I'm finally bringing up a right side defenseman. Huh? How about that? 2 years remaining, so another guy who got locked in.
Can I pause you real quick? Just because we have another bid for comment of the episode. Chewy saying, let's do a Nancy Kerrigan on Petrie. My God, Chewy.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
I threw in Nick Jensen as a possibility here. He's not played great this year, but it is one of those things. I think I did pull up his evolving hockey Rap'em chart. So let me pull this up here. I'll kind of
man. So you talk about two players that are a spoonful of medicine in a row. Woo. This is a team that likes to employ like Gostisbehere, where defense as a defenseman is. I'll get to it.
Well, we'll take a look at the Rap'em chart for both Chychrun and Jensen here over multiple seasons here. So this is going back to 2021. He got an extension because he was able to produce. And again, this is a Washington Capitals team that for sure, they're going to be built right now just to try and get Ovechkin over the finish line for trying to beat Wayne Gretzky. So I think that has to come into play when you're looking at Jensen's production dropping. But this is a right side defenseman that I think would clearly be an upgrade over Jeff Petrie. This is something where it's been pretty solid for the last few seasons, where Petrie's just been on this falling down. So I do think
I'm just reading the comments. Jared saying, Matt's stealing my jokes. That's my joke. Damn it, Dwight.
Which one was which joke? What did I
don't know. It's just a
Oh man. All right. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what joke I made. I saw that too, and it was really distracting. And I got in my head going like, what was the I don't know. Jared, tell me what did I steal? Any hoozles. I think you're looking at a couple of solid options for a couple of years here, and that's why I pinned the both of them together. Nick Jensen also is going to help. Like you could see that there's a focus here on his last few seasons. Like the argument has been made, like his production fell offensively, but you look at what he's able to do on the ice and prevent the expected goals against per 60. This isn't a percentage. This isn't that he brings more offense to the ice. This is a measurement on whether or not, when he's on the ice, are the chances being prevented, and they are. So he gets the puck out of the zone and he moves things into the neutral zone and further.
I got to say he fits right in on this team because he'd be a near mid-30s defenseman at the tail end of his career making too much money.
Yeah, former Red Wing. Why not? What did we get out of him?
No
2.5 years. No dice? I think this will be a really cheap
It's not that cheap. He's like $4 million, Matt, for 2 more years.
No, I mean, you're not giving up too much draft.
Yeah,
cap.
I mean, if they're retaining
salary,
if they're retaining, you got to keep this guy till he's what, 35, 36. Woo. If they retain salary and he's basically free this year for like a 3rd rounder.
How many retained salaries does Washington have? They made a couple of moves already.
I'm just saying that's a lot of cheddar for a 33, 34, 35-year-old dude.
So they have space to retain 2 more salaries. They've just retained on Mantha. So that would mean, yeah, this $4 million, maybe we could cut $1 million off. But yeah, it is not a short-term deal, but it is something I do feel like what you're leading up to is the actual age of Jeff Petrie. So and this is a thing too. I think you can unload Jeff Petrie because Washington's still going to need somebody. They're going to try and fill out this roster, right, to end the season. Unload Petrie, unload Hall, and then bring over Nick Jensen and give him a couple of draft picks. I think that works out perfectly. I think if you're unloading one of those right side defensemen, I think it's a no-brainer.
Hold on. GLJ putting in a bid for a comment of the episode saying, I can't leave the live stream to use the bathroom, so I too am practicing retention. That really threw me off. Matt, the comment I was going to say is like the more we kind of dig into this, and I know that this entire group of people, including you and I, would be crushed if the Red Wings were kind of sellers again. But if we could find a way to get rid of the mistake contracts that Yzerman's made, that'd be pretty nice for next season, Matt. I'm looking at you, Billy Husso. No offense, but we've only kind of had half of one season and a fourth of a second season. And, we're kind of looking at you, Justin Hall, Mr. Healthy Scratch, with 2 more years left. Petrie, time to hang him up, bud.
Okay, I got another one I want to throw out there. Alexander Carrier, another right side D, I think brings more defense to this team that we're desperately lacking. The scuttlebutt on The Athletic, lacks in size, he makes up for in smarts. I would say, hey, Jeff Petrie could totally be replaced right there. He's a positionally sound player who gets around the ice well. Is pending UFA, making just $2.5 million. Good value for someone who plays north of 18 minutes a night. Carrier's a reliable shot blocker, known for having a competitive streak. Consider him a strong depth option for a team trying to insulate itself for a long playoff run. That team may end up being the Predators, though, as they are much less likely to move him after a torrid winning streak. Of course, after canceling their trip to Vegas to watch U2, they went on a huge winning streak. Kind of weird. I would have said that was a bad coaching move, but I don't know what I'm talking about.
I feel like this guy is he's too good. Like he's kind of what we need. A capable defensive defenseman, Matt.
Yeah. I like this. I like a player with this description, a mobile defenseman who's, again, like you said, on a defensive defenseman sort of lean. So
Right, and he's not entering his mid-30s.
right.
He's 27. So yeah, this would be a pretty cool under the radar move, but I feel like
Yeah,
this one
this
it's more far-fetched for me than the Buchnevich move.
this
I'm
one
like,
is 100% a 2:59 p.m. Eastern time Friday move if it happens. There's no way anybody's fighting for this. This is going to be the Predators. If they're taking orders, they're going to take the best offer at the last possible second.
I mean, it's such a reasonable
Guaranteed.
contract for like a very marketable role,
Yeah.
on an NHL roster. That's why
Um,
I would be pretty shocked if that one happened.
This is another one where Boqvist is getting absolutely trashed across the NHL. Like he's not great, but I would like to see what this looks like instead of Jeff Petrie. So that's sort of the only argument for this, and I think the ask for this would be almost near nothing. And again, a 2:59 p.m. Eastern time. This is definitely a throw in, but we have more fun. Oh, look at Alex Carrier's J Fresh card, looking pretty good. 73% WAR. Where's Dan B? Dan B. Here we go. All right, let's have more fun, Mike.
Oh man,
Let's talk to
reel
the
them in, baby.
Pittsburgh
Woo!
Penguins.
This
Mike,
is what the streamers were waiting for. Yeah.
You want a right side defenseman? I got you a right side defenseman. God damn it! You want to upgrade over Jeff Petrie? We're gonna fucking upgrade over Jeff Petrie. Erik Karlsson,
Are you
clearly
reading from his agent's resume that he wrote out for him? You want a right side defenseman? I got you a right side defenseman. All right. Jesus.
Mike, does Steve Yzerman save the day with this out of nowhere trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins and land Erik Karlsson? Mike, would you drop multiple firsts if we can get some retention here?
I mean, he's only a year away from a 100-point season as a defenseman, man.
What's the cost right now, actually? Because Pittsburgh got him on retention, right? Or am I wrong?
For you. I can pull that up for you.
You can pull
that up for you. Just a little minute there, Buddha. Carl is at holy God Almighty, Matt. That's 10 mil a season. Tell this guy's 34, 35, 36.
Oof. Yeah, and San Jose only grabbed 1.5 mil of that contract. How many times can a single? Let's Google this while we're talking about it, because I think it's obvious why this would be an upgrade for the Red Wings. I think it would be clear that Pittsburgh would have to just absolutely be done with this season. Can salary be retained? Maybe somebody will answer in the chat. How many times can salary be retained on an NHL contract? By the way, how lame is the NHL that we have to look this up and it's not a cool league like every other league where they're just throwing players around willy-nilly? An individual contract can have a maximum of 2 teams retaining salary on it. So, you know what? Is there also retention? Is this back from Ottawa? Was Ottawa still retaining? We were just making fun of Ottawa. They still had Bobby Bryan. If Ottawa and San Jose are retaining, then it doesn't matter. We can't do it.
I got a few comments while you're looking at that, Matt.
Hey, all right. We can get one more retention. We can get one more. So we can bring this down.
That's the only way it works, or they find a way to absorb Hall and I don't know Fabry, because there's no other way. This guy's too expensive. He's going to take away our Kane money.
But he's not your number one right side defenseman, and he is going to take away Kane money. That's true. Maybe this is nothing.
By the way, Brad's saying that's a right side forward who plays defense. I mean,
does that hurt?
It's not wrong. A kid sweatshirt who I don't think we've heard from in a while. How's it going? Said Hall for Karlsson seems fair.
Let's do it.
I know you're being tongue in cheek, but I think there's a world where Pittsburgh, not for Hall because he's awful, but they try to dump some of the salary because that's a wild commitment. To miss the playoffs and pay all that money to one dude. That's a wild commitment.
I mean,
And for
can't we just buy out Cop or see if somebody wants?
they're not
You
buying
know,
out Cop. They love Cop.
you've got
Um,
a Robbie Fabry contract that's useless at this point, an Andrew Cop contract that can go. I guess that's yeah. I mean, Hall. Oh my God, what? I mean, from the day of free agency, we were like, "What in God's name are we doing with this Hall contract? What was this? 3 years at 3.4. What was he thinking?
no idea.
What was he thinking? Oh my God, this is such a horrible contract." Anyway,
A
good gravy.
Kid
God.
Sweatshirt was also saying, "Love to keep Cop, but not for that money." I think he had one more in here that I was going to share. Oh, but Dan B saying, "I would resign my allegiance to the Wings and become a Maple Leaf fan if we acquire Karlsson."
Oh no! Oh, it's not that
And
bad.
I would not worry about it. That guy's way too expensive. There's no way in hell Eiserman would sacrifice his cap sheet for that guy. No way.
All right, Mike. This is it. This is your boy. An offensive
Oh
specialist
yeah.
with his prime years still ahead. Trevor Zegras is certainly not a player the Ducks have to move, either at the deadline or beyond it. But it's believed they're at least willing to listen on a forward the organization has been pushing it to round out his game. And 4 or 5 teams are believed to have called. Also,
You remember
his GM is Pat Verbeek.
was he the same draft as Raymond?
Yes. No. Yes.
The reason I ask, do you
I don't
remember,
know.
was it like 1 or 2 years ago, the Red Wings picked up like 5 guys from the same draft and they were all not very good? It would just be kind of cool to see us try and do the same thing, but like the Lucas Raymond year. I fetishize this guy and I talk about, having some creativity offensively and what I think he'd start playing a little defense, if he was on this team. Or at least
Oh
caring
wait,
about
he
defense.
was
I don't know how much defense he'd actually play, but
he was
go ahead.
drafted in 2019.
Oh, a few years. Okay.
That's our cider year. Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, I would give up firsts for this guy. Firsts and a burger. I'm sorry, I would do it.
First goalie we're throwing out all day today, only because I
This,
think Markstrom
oof,
Saros isn't going to happen, but it
oof.
does kind of seem like Boston wants to make space, and Linus Ullmark and Alex Lyon heading into the playoffs makes you feel a little bit more warm and fuzzy. Maybe you give Boston one of Ville Husso or James Reimer, their choice, plus some draft picks.
I don't know. Like, I feel like somebody had to fill out a trade targets worksheet, and so then they just had to start throwing dudes in there because I don't think the Bruins are moving Allmark, are they? Kid
That
Sweatshirt. Hold on, we got to touch on this first. Zegras, Larkin, and Kane would be the hottest looking line in the league.
You know what? That would be kind of cool. That'd be like 3 different generations of NHL forwards in one line. That'd be insane. Now, yes, I will say Elliot Friedman, Frank Saravelli have both brought up the fact that Boston's trying to move him.
Okay.
I mean, they've got Jeremy Swayman is where they want to land, and the contract seems like it's going to be a problem moving forward for Allmark. So why not get something for him now while there's still some value, and at least take the phone calls? And it could be something, the Wings could just bulk up their depth here at goaltender. I like it.
By the way, Sneezy Wheezy saying Ghost and Karlsson pairing, a bunch of breakaways for the other team.
Zing! All right, Sneezy, you get credit for that one. That is very
that
true.
Was pretty funny.
I wouldn't mind seeing what that looks like. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, back to the Allmark thing. I think it would be something I wouldn't be. I wouldn't shy away from, and I think you do have to do goalie for goalie, and then I think you've got to give them some more juice to that too. I think there's some game you can play here considering it's goalies. Like you don't have to give up too much. Like this is something that Boston can still survive without them. And goalies are such voodoo that I don't know if you're giving up. Like this is a superstar goaltender, right? In his own right. 277 goals against average and 910 save percentage isn't a stat line that makes you go, wow, this is the greatest goaltender of all time. But career-wise, superstar goaltender. I guess where I want to land the plane on that point is just kind of like things go up and down for every goaltender month by month. So I think you get to use that to your advantage, and it probably could be something like a couple of second-round picks, a replacement goaltender, and maybe you can scroll a little bit farther down the line past Berggren on your prospect list, and give Boston something legit. But clearly they're kind of falling off on the tail end here of what has been. I think somebody said they have 3 wins in regulation since the start of the new year. All hail the overtime point, of course, keeping Boston at the top of the division. But I think they can see it. I think they can see their struggles on this team. It's not the same team, obviously, that they had last year. Not just personnel wise, but just the results aren't as strong as they were last year. And I think they've got to start making moves that are reflective of what they want to do in the future and can give them some more flexibility with picking up some assets maybe in the off season and going forward. Because I think they'd love to play out the rest of the season and see what they can do. They can win a cup with Jeremy Swayman. And I think this gives them a little bit more wiggle room at this trade deadline to make a move that'll benefit this team on the whole, instead of going in to the playoffs with 2 very more than solid goaltenders, which you don't necessarily need that. You need a solid backup, right?
No, I don't. I think the more we've talked about it, I could kind of see the feasibility of the idea.
Thank you.
But it would mean that the Red Wings are moving a goalie, which seems less feasible because I don't know how desirable a Reimer is or a broken Husso.
Oh, you think it would be Alex Lyon? Would you move Alex Lyon in a second round pick and bring in Linus Ullmark? I think I'd do it.
Ooh.
I think I'd do it.
I don't hate that idea. I mean, it's not.
I think I'd do
Lions
it.
Moved on from Jamal Williams, who was, bleeding Honolulu blue, and suddenly, unceremoniously dumped. That would be cold blooded.
Now, can you get? Let's see. They're not retaining salaries on anybody. I would love for them to retain just a little tiny bit for the next couple of years here, because that $5 million, that's still a lot for Husso. Like that's where the argument is made, where it's like you get Husso out of here. Like you can't have an Allmark and Husso, because then you're talking about a team that's not a cup contender, but playing the same $10 million invested in goaltending, just like who's done that recently? Vegas has done that. I think Boston would be less than that, but they've still invested, like 7-8 mil in goaltending, and you don't want to play that game. So I don't know. I think if it was Alex Lyon, maybe I would say no. Maybe I'm waffling here a little bit, but they probably would rather have Alex Lyon. I just want to get one of these horrible contracts off our books, and I don't know. Maybe they want depth in their D line, and we can give them Justin Hall.
I could get on board with it. It would require 2 moves, I think, is the hardest part. It would be acquiring Ullmark, and then you'd have to find a way to get out of that Husso contract.
All right. This isn't fresh. That was the last person. I got my wrap it up text from our executive producer, who's my wife.
Oh, that's your wife.
So
Matt, of the guys we've talked about today, signing off, who would you most be okay with trading the burger for?
I would say I'd be most happy with Buchnevich. Like that would be the one where I'd be like, it's okay. We'll get past this. We're gonna miss Berger. It's gonna suck to see him thrive in St. Louis, but I think that's a move that helps the Wings now and next year. And I love Ketzel's point, like transition from Booch to Booch, be a great transition. I would say in my final thought, for Steve Yzerman to win the trade deadline, I think it's a very real possibility that we move guys and make room for Simon Edmondson. That could be the true win for this roster. Would probably make me feel the most warm and fuzzy. Maybe not the most confident for playoffs this year, but I think that would be the move I'd be most comfortable with. Final thought.
It stinks because, the show's a little bit better if there's, a little bit more of a debate, but I really like the idea of Booch having an extra year, on the roster. I like the idea of the salary retention that's available. And I know we went through a couple options like goaltender wise, Ullmark. It would just take a lot of plate juggling to make that deal move. Gensel, I don't think, with the Red Wing tax involved with making a trade with Pittsburgh, I just don't think it would work. Obviously, I'd want Zegras more than anything, which would be really cool. But I don't think that move is. I don't think they're actually going to entertain a deal unless it's some absurd multiple first round picks.
And his injury doesn't help you now. Yeah.
But yeah, I think looking at what Yzerman, he's tried to be so meticulous with the cap sheet, but at the same time, what the fuck is he doing with the defenseman? When you're paying Sherratt, we gave him a was it 4-year deal? Getting almost $5 million. Justin Hall, 3.4. And then acquiring Jeff Petrie, who I guess statistically there's a few worse defensemen, but it just, kind of created a logjam that was preventing guys we really wanted to see. So if Steve could find some way to kind of clean up this cap sheet a little bit and make it so that this offseason, we can still find a way to re-sign Patrick Kane, who is going to get a deserved raise. Sprong, I think, has made a lot of us, impressed a lot of us with his production. I think Fisher has actually done a pretty good job, and I think people would be happy to see him, retained.
Well, hey, Jared throws out there, I know Yzerman plays it close to the chest, but I haven't heard a single hint of a rumor out there. Brad throwing out there, if there's one thing we know, it's that Yzerman won't force anything. Brand New throws out there, thanks for doing the stream, fellas. Let's go, Stevie. Do something exciting, even if it's just waving Hall for Edmondson. That'd be kind of fun. Jared throwing out there, watch out for that log jam of no trade clauses. Last thing, actually, Derek Hand, I won't stand for this Lion hate. There was absolutely zero Lion hate. That was all about what would Boston actually want from the Wingdings. I think it would be Alex Lyon if we're moving a goalie.
We also wanted to make sure that we said that if you trade him, he's our cheapest goalie.
We're screwed
he's
with
getting
that.
like $900K, and then Reimer's 1.5, and Husso's like almost $5 million. So it'd just be tough to have Husso and Ullmark and Reimer, and getting rid of the cheapest, most productive one. It would be kind of tough for us. So that's all.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. If you have a sec, hit that like button if you're watching us on X, and if you're on YouTube right now, please smash the like button, hit subscribe for us, and we will see you guys on Friday at the trade deadline. I'm going to try and go at 2 unless something crazy happens before that, but we will see you guys then. Have a good one.
Let's go.